Hey everybody, it's LTM here. I'm at the Cinemark in Oak Ridge right now, and I'm about to go watch the Book of Clarence. So if you saw my post on the community, I know it's been kind of slow lately. I'm still working 2 jobs, but I'm still able to get some of these reviews out of the way. So I was going to originally skip on this one because I thought it was going to come out in the later month. I actually thought it was supposed to come out later in the month, but basically it's actually coming out in January, and I thought it was an independent film as well, but it turns out we're showing it here. So as long as there's a theater close by for me to go see this movie, that's great. So Mean Girls and Beekeeper I still plan on seeing, though depending on how long it'll take, I might do vlogs on them, but it just depends on how earlier I get these videos out. But anyways, so the Book of Clarence, when I first saw the trailer, there were 2 things in my mind when going into this. It's either going to be a movie based on any of the Bible stories, or maybe this will be like something like Monty Python and the Life of Brian, in that it's more like a parody of religious movies or religious content. Now, I just want to state for the record that religious movies are the hardest things to review. That's not to say there aren't any good ones out there. In fact, some of my favorite movies of all time are Ben-Hur, The 10 Commandments. One of my favorite DreamWorks animated movies of all time is The Prince of Egypt, which is, in my opinion, the best version of Moses and Joseph. Or I think it was about Moses, yeah. But, and of course, I grew up with a show called VeggieTales. So there is a lot of good Christian media out there. And there are some bad ones. It's just, what I mean by harder to review them is that a lot of them are independent, and usually they don't show them around here as much. So, and not to mention with a lot of Hollywood, since I mostly focus on the Hollywood movies, I mostly focus on them and less on the religious films. Then again, there's most of them that I know are independent, so they're really hard to get in touch with and go out and see because they're out in other further out theaters. So like they're really rare and hard to find. But I'm glad this one's near me because even though it is independent, it doesn't look like a lot of theaters will be showing this movie around here. I am hoping that this will be good. Night Swim, if you saw my vlog on that, didn't like that one as much. It was really disappointing, so I'm hoping this one will kick up the slack. It's still January, so we'll see how things go in here. This is LTM, and I'll be right back on the review. Okay, guys, I just got out of the Book of Clarence. I just want to state for the record, when I went and saw the trailer for this movie, I couldn't tell if this movie was going to be a dark comedy, like a parody sort of movie, like The Life of Brian, or if the movie was going to be dark and serious, like something like The Passion of the Christ. Watching this movie now, it's kind of hard to judge if this movie, we're going to get to the problems here in a minute, but all of my, for all the things that I've been worried about going into this movie, I actually had a good time going into this. Let me start off by saying it's not a perfect movie. It's not for everyone. But if you're someone who just wants to see a different take on a Bible story, or at least see something different, I recommend the Book of Clarence. So, okay, so you've got Clarence. He's basically this guy who wants to be somebody. He wants to be known in the world of Jerusalem, or I don't know if it's Jerusalem or Bethlehem, but I'm just going to say Jerusalem. He lives in Jerusalem, and he wants to be somebody, and wants to be a Messiah. But while doing all these good deeds, he gets in trouble for it. And I won't spoil the ending of it because, to be honest, if you've seen The Passion of the Christ, you probably know it's one of those endings. But it kind of confuses you in a way where it's like, I couldn't tell if this was kind of meant to be taken seriously or if this is going to be a dark comedy. And that's kind of the main problems with this movie. It's that the tone is really inconsistent. I couldn't tell if this was trying to be serious or sometimes if it wants to be a comedy. And you can balance both. There are a lot of good comedy dramas out there that like to balance both. Book of Clarence just had a hard time fitting there. It was almost there, though. It really did try to... If the tone was more balanced, I would have loved it a lot more. But it's just the tone was inconsistent, and it didn't know what it wanted to be. The movie just... There are some funny moments, but then other times they're just kind of stupid, honestly. Like, there's jokes that are in there that are like, you didn't really need it. You didn't really need this joke to be in here, unless if it was trying to be a full-on comedy. If you're trying to be a full-on drama, you really did need some of those dumb jokes in there. And honestly, the story's pretty weak when you think about it. Now, like I said, I don't know if this is really based on any Bible story. I don't think I've ever heard of Clarence. I don't think it's a real Bible story at all. Judging by the information, it didn't look like it was based on anything, so you could argue that this is somewhat original. But with that being said, the acting is really good for the most part. Like I said, there are some funny moments, and when it does try to be serious, it's actually not that bad. You can tell that the actors are trying, the drama's really trying, and I guess if you just want to see something different, or you just want to see a movie that's trying to balance both being a drama and a comedy, this is not too bad. I think this is pretty good, in fact. I enjoyed this movie a lot. There are some funny jokes in this movie. Some of them, like I said, not all of them hit bullseyes, but some of them hit pretty good. I do wish they could have done more with the main character, but the main character is likable enough. Like I said, the acting for him is pretty good. The costume designs and the production designs look great. It looks exactly like you would see in like the biblical days, and it looks very nice. And the music score is good for the most part. I do like the music score, especially in the beginning of it, because the beginning has some really nice music. Like I said before, I think what breaks it down was the tone and some of the jokes and the story. It's not a great movie. I don't recommend it for everyone, but I guess if you just want to see something different, or see a biblical story at a different point of view, Book of Clarence is actually not that bad. If you're one of those people that takes Christianity too seriously and if you're not able to sit through all the dumb jokes and things like that, this will probably not grab you. If I had to give Book of Clarence a rating, it'd have to be an 8 out of 10. It's kind of hard for me to recommend this movie because, like I said, this movie is all over the place. It's all over the place. It's not dramatic enough to be considered a drama, but it's also not funny enough to be a comedy. So it's kind of hard for me to really recommend this. But if you're very curious, it's out in theaters right now. I don't know if it's showing around a lot of the theaters near my area. If y'all living around Tennessee, I don't know if this movie is being shown around it everywhere. But if you are very curious, the movie's out in theaters, so I guess if you're really interested. But for the most part, for me, I had a fun time enough to really get into it. So I guess if you are very curious, go check it out yourself. I say you'll have a good time if you're not able to take this movie very seriously. Okay, guys, that's the Book of Clarence. Before I just let off, I just want to let you guys know that I do have an editorial being released sometime here next week. So hopefully by the end of January. Sorry, I'm about to say July. By the end of January, I'm about to have finally going back to doing editorials. So if you're really just stick around for that, I guess. So this is LTM, and I'll see you guys later.